All right. Yeah. Now, we'll just move into the aftermath, and I'll just read this directly to you because it's a big question. Uganda embarks on another 5-year term that will be characterized by loosened constitutional pedals and damaged checks and balances. What new legislation will you propose to steer Uganda back towards a democratic trajectory?
Well, like you said, when we started, it's a very hard one. I don't think our problem is the kind of laws that we have in place. I think our problem is the unwillingness of the executive arm to implement these laws, quite frankly speaking. We are just piling laws, good laws, well manicured, well pedicured, well tailored for our situations. But as long as we have an executive that is not willing to implement the law, then what we do is done in vain.
How do you suppose the current legislation could really implement some of those things to really take effect? You don't know.
I lost faith because you really cannot keep doing the same thing expecting different results. It's madness, actually. Someone called it madness.
Yes, it's
doing the same thing, always expecting a different result. Because what has changed? If we are looking at government expenditure, we still have 80 plus ministers. He just added another ministry. If we're talking about parliament, we are here together. Bear me witness that in the next 3 or 4 years, there will be a motion table to create constituencies, increasing government expenditure. And yet right now as it is, MPs don't have where to sit.
But they're just being given 200 million to buy a car.
But you know how expensive that is because that's over 100 something billion for 500 something MPs.
But how come then no MPs object any of these things? When it comes to, let's say, because I personally believe that one, the amount of money is too much for a moving car. It's not justifiable. I think it's also once MPs are exposed to this kind of money, it's hard for them now to fight the government.
No, I don't think. Okay, yes, it could be. I respectfully agree with you. Someone taught me how to dissent with someone's views. You do it respectfully. Yes, what you say could be true. In my view, though, I see it a bit differently. I don't think that 200 million can compromise MPs.
Mostly amidst the pandemic. Well,
That is the undoing. For me, that is the biggest undoing. Of course, the added being that honestly it's too much. It's too much. We are too many. We are 530 something. Can you imagine what that would do for our country?
Yeah. Because when you look at the numbers, we're looking at numbers provided to us by government. Children hospital costs about 31 million. So if you to divide, okay, I don't even want to go into the expenditure, but there's a lot of money at West always. What message do you have for the young people, especially young women, in respect to political participation?
Political participation for young women. I think that they come at a time when things are much better than they were. So many women have been here. So many organizations have tried to level the field for us. Legislation has been made to level the ground for us. Much as there are still many challenges towards achieving, gender equity in the political space, it's much better than it was decades ago. And you asked me if I could credit this to the NRM. No, not singularly the NRM.
But is it part because it's happening? Do you, as your view?
No, I think if the NRM had tried to fight the wind of recognizing that wind of change to bring women into positions of influence and authority, I think the NRM would not have stood. Some of the things
but also the NRM introduced how can I term it? Your representation, the woman MP.
And I'm saying that had it not done that, then it wouldn't have stayed to this date. Some of the few things that have kept NRM have been that token politics. You understand what I mean by token politics? If Museveni goes to Kakumiro and says, Kagadi, you're going to get a district. It's not because really he knows it will give service delivery. No. I recently tweeted the photo of Terego Mortuary.
Yes. That's why I just looked at that.
Museveni gave Terego a district not because he thinks services can reach people. Otherwise, they'll not be looking like that.
That's so terrible.
But he does it because it's a token. Because in people's minds, they believe that, not too bad. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's almost the same with women in politics in the NRM regime. It was a token to women.
Yeah.
Women were such a critical component in the liberation struggle. They were so critical to them.
How so?
Well, where were they eating from?
True. So
We hear many stories of old women that lived in Buero who used to give the rebels food.
yeah.
Some women were physically part of it. Gertrude in Juba, they were physically part of it. Eventually, Engineer Byanyima.
Yeah.
So women were there. And it's these some women that came and pushed for that. In the making of the 1995 Constitution, some of the views that Odoki's commission gathered were that women should be involved. So can you imagine what would have become of the NRM if they had shot there like, no.
We don't want them to be a part of us. It would be trouble.
So I wouldn't credit the presence of women in politics singularly to the NRM. It has been a global tide. It's been a global tide. And it's an inevitable occurrence.
That will happen, yeah.
With all the civil society organizations that are globally linked, that have been doing much work, so much work into women advocacy, women empowerment, strengthening structures to support women, it would have been impossible to have women in the equation.
Do you think
And the other thing that President Museveni recognizes that actually in the earlier days, most of his voters were women. Why? Number one, he came on the aspect of security.
And peace.
Looking back at decades of struggle and so much political instability, women were the victims. You understand?
Yes.
Because women are not as mobile as men. Men can run, but a woman has children. Can you carry 7 children and run? No. So you stay. So women know what it means to enjoy peace and stability because they have seen the effects of war. It has ravaged them, ravaged generations, stolen futures. So women voted him because of that. Where I come from, we had an insurgency that changed Teso. To date, it has never been the same. But some of the reasons why older women will vote him is because they know they cannot run. They saw it firsthand. They saw it with their own eyes during the insurgency. When the rebels were there, they saw it. So they vote, not because there is prosperity.
Trauma response.
Exactly. And you see, one of the tools that the regime has maintained, continued to use, is, the continued victimization of victims of war and torture. When in Soroti district, some of the things General Well was doing in his mobilization against FDC was to tell people you are going to go back into the bush. You're going to go back into living in the bush if you destabilize this government. So,
it's the intimidation and totally understand that.
I think it's good. I think it deserves a much better word. My diction now may be limited, but it deserves a much stronger description because it's more than just intimidation. You are reminded of decades of struggle and pain. a time that you'll never forget.
True.
Because it permanently changed your livelihoods, changed your future, the future of your children. So they continue to use that.
So, speaking of now, do you think you would have done better in the civil society than in the political area?
No.
Advocating for women rights
No.
specifically.
There are also challenges with civil society, being that it's a non-governmental actor. What we speak about here, what we debate is a political question. It's about power. Who holds it? How do they use it? It's a political question. Therefore, it only can be answered by a political answer.
Yeah.
So being non-governmental and occupying the civic, civil society space is a good thing. But it's only influential, it's only informative, it's only persuasive.
Totally, I understand that.
When you get into this space, is where ideally we could make decisions for the country. Of course, now many things have crippled parliament, but this is a very influential space. In other countries, parliament is a big deal because it changes the lives of many. Can you imagine having the role of drafting a country's budget? Everything is around resources. That's ideally parliament's role.
So, how would you rate our parliament as compared to any other parliament?
Well, it's too large.
Right.
I think crowds don't think. With its continued expansion, it's become less effective and really less relevant. Right now, we don't have where to sit. MPs don't have where to park.
So it's chaos.
The speaker herself or himself will be overwhelmed. You can't allow all members to speak because we are too many.
Yeah.
And even when they speak, you have to allocate so little time that it doesn't encourage members who want to invest in research to come and inform the House, inform the country. It doesn't encourage them to do that because I cannot spend hours researching only to speak for 2 minutes. Such a terrible feeling, right?
Yeah, man. It's very, very terrible. I wouldn't.
Because then I don't feel like I have given you what's worthwhile.
Yeah.
The wealth of wisdom I've been able to find, knowledge that I think could...
So besides the speaking, how then can you and this is just really a raw question, how do you give us this type of research? You previously in the conversation said what you share on your platforms is
Sometimes
restricted.
we use social media, we use other platforms. Sometimes we use media, mainstream media. We use social media. We use print media. Sometimes I've written some articles. People write articles.
Yeah.
But of course, that's very elitist.
Yeah.
It's all elitist. And the people that deserve our message, I don't think are elites.
Yeah.
They don't deserve it because they can make decisions. They're empowered enough. The people that deserve and need our message may not even have a radio.
I understand. Truly.
I say radio because I think that is the most local way of
communication
to send messages, yes. Because we've been in this COVID pandemic, we're still in it, children are at home. Earlier at its start, the ministry devised that we would use radios and said they would distribute radios. Did they distribute radios, by the way? As far as I know, they didn't distribute where I come from. It failed. They said they'll distribute papers to schools. It failed.
We didn't. I don't think even masks.
It was
everyone.
See, so the inefficiencies really make it difficult for service delivery. So really, back to that point, that the people that need our information don't even have a means of getting it. So the only way is to verbally send it, and that's when you mobilize them around maybe community outreaches and things like that.
Right. This is going to be our last question. How do you think government has handled, and how do you think we're handling the COVID pandemic?
I think poorly. Yeah, I think the COVID pandemic has, for many of us, revealed the structural weaknesses, yeah, and the inabilities. You see, when you don't build systems, you can get away with it on a daily basis. But if there's an emergency, then you will really struggle because you didn't put effort into building those systems. So you can't use them, they can't work for you because you didn't build them, right?
True.
So
They're non-existent.
We have been, State House comes for a supplementary budget during COVID, about 93 billion. What for? What's State House doing? Is State House handling all COVID cases or something? Competing comparatively with the Ministry of Health, which is the main ministry.
I saw you question Parliament yesterday, I think, about the expenditure on, I forget.
I can remind you, I did raise a question about how a businessman that donated money got access to 2,000 vaccines and vaccinated his tenants.
But while he was donating this money, he said he would want his tenants to be first priority, his tenants and his people.
Well, government is a recipient of the aid. And government is making decisions for 46 million Ugandans. So in government's positive response to that, first of all, it should have publicly communicated that. Second of all, where are government's priorities? You have frontline workers, doctors, nurses, medical personnel who have not been vaccinated. They cannot access personal protective equipment. Are refusing to touch patients.
Not being paid as well.
And you vaccinate a businessman. So it's okay, it's fine. But what message is government sending? That so this country is going to be for those who can afford vaccines? Is that the line that we should toe? Who is more valuable to us in the fight against COVID? I thought we should be saving the frontline workers because at the end of the day, like Dr. Bessie just said, everyone will get COVID. So when you get COVID, who do you need more?
The doctor. Thank you.
So why didn't you secure his capacity to serve you first?
Misplaced priorities. Over and over.
It's okay. I have no problem. Actually, I made it clear. I have no problem because the people who got vaccines are Ugandans. But with such a small resource that has been donated to you, it was a donation. Did someone have to bring you money to get access to a donation? Don't you see something wrong with that?
Fishy.
Because you've received freely to help the most vulnerable. Why are you allowing another donation of money so that you can channel to that person? Government didn't buy these vaccines with its money. It was a donation to the most vulnerable. We have people living with comorbidities who have been dying in such large numbers because their bodies cannot handle the effects of the COVID virus. How about you? You secure them before you go to able-bodied people.
Probably.
Because I dare say, maybe the reasons why the businessman was vaccinating his people was to ensure that his business continues to run.
Or maybe a call for other businessmen to do the same so we can get out of this real quick.
I wish he made it publicly. It should not be inferred. It should have been publicly stated. And then again, it takes us to a very nasty discussion as to accessing, because now in this COVID pandemic, that's a necessity. It shouldn't be the reserve for those who can pay the price for it. It shouldn't. So if we start discussing money for vaccines at this point in a country like ours, where they have promised us middle income, which we have not reached, every subsequent year they say next year we shall have reached, then it's a very, very, very insensitive discussion. When millions are living in abject poverty, I say abject because I have seen it. I've seen the face of poverty on the face of people. So if you are dealing with a population that's even struggling to get what to eat.
Yeah.
And then you start having the discussion about vaccines for money. What does that mean? What message does that? And yet you're really a custodian of everyone. As government, you plan for the rich and the poor all alike. But of course, equity would require that you give the poor more advantage because they're already disadvantaged.
Interesting. So let's finalize with your last remarks of this.
Cool.
How would you tell us, the people, give us some hope about you? You of course, you're in Parliament, so we're looking up to you, the people that have voted you to Parliament, and they're looking at how this is going to run the next 5 years in Parliament.
Yes, I don't know if I finished answering the question about women and girls in politics, but yeah, they found a much better field than it was. It's not yet leveled, so we still have more work to do. So when you come in, you come in at a point still of disadvantage, though not as badly as it was decades ago. However, you still have to work towards making it a much safer and more comfortable space for other women to come after you. My final remarks is, really, these are my views. This is my opinion about Uganda.
Yeah.
Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But I firmly believe that with the time that the NRM has spent in office, 35 going on 40, nothing new can be expected. Even if you give it the sharpest prime minister like they've given, who is a timekeeper, who demands quality services, no giving fake beans to people in Kasese, no dumping fake produce. The issues and the fissures in the systems that the NRM has created are bigger than what an individual can solve.
Yeah.
What would solve them is a total overhaul.
The fissures from the head.
So no matter how many times NRM or NRA/UPDF, because they are now joint.
Yeah.
The UPDF is an NRM army. So no matter how many times NRM, UPDF as an organization remodel themselves, they'll never be able to get a grip of it because they lost it.
Yeah.
Where we are is because of them. So they will never remodel differently for Uganda. It just needs a different administration altogether. I am pro change because I want to see a more equal society where opportunities are available for all, where people are not damned by their tribe or their birth or their class, but equal access, a system that can guarantee your success despite where you come from, one that's built on merit, a more accountable and transparent government that is willing to throw bad people under the bus, and not when you hear that someone has been implicated in a scandal of corruption, you just move them to another department or you just retire them. But a government that is willing to prosecute and send a message that you cannot touch public funds. Because every time you do that, you hurt the recipients. So I dream of a better Uganda. And I know, like I said, I have the privilege of time, of having started early. I know I will be in a new Uganda soon.
I hope so. I hope to meet you there someday and we have this conversation again. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us.